Okay, we can start, I think. So, the idea this evening is we look into our own experience. I'm going to emphasize our own experience because it's not about what we're supposed to do, looking at what we're experiencing ourselves and not looking at things outside of us so much. Um, what we experience um, might get kind of confused what we think other people think. But this is just, let's leave all that aside for the moment and just simply go with experience. We'll check in with how we feel first. And kind of the feeling is usually in our bodies. And we might have had a busy day. Our body might be in gear for whatever's been happening during the day. But that's okay. Our brains have been busy trying to predict to keep us ready for stuff. But this is now, and this is time for you. Nothing to do really. If you like, you can take into account where your body and all its various bits and pieces are. Like Mingyur Rinpoche did a kind of a scan where he started at the top of his head and felt how that was and allowed any tension that he came across to just ease. You can kind of take your time with this. It's your body. If there's something that feels uncomfortable, just see how it is. Allow it to be. We're not trying too hard to fix something here. Check in with yourself. How are you? Good. So we'll just simply experience being here, awake, present. You're okay. You really are okay. You're here, seeing, hearing, breathing, present, awake. Let's try what Kempchen Namdral suggests. He says, rest momentarily in uncontrived ease without pursuing thoughts. Rest momentarily. Momentarily means you don't have to struggle to keep it. It's just a moment. Uncontrived ease. We're just here, awake. Present. Now let's look at the whole thing about without pursuing thoughts. And you can just drop the meditation or whatever for a moment and just look back at your experience. It's good to look at your experience after you've been trying the rest, the doing what Kempton Namdal suggests. It's best not to do the analysis when you're sitting there, but you can look back afterwards and check in and kind of see, like, what was your experience? Were there thoughts popping up? There's a dog wagging a tail there. Were thoughts popping in to view? Yeah, yeah. Things appearing, maybe. Memories. Now, the usual thing is we might get caught up pursuing those. Okay. And what Kempchen Namdral suggests is to rest in uncontrived ease without pursuing thoughts. Now, what's this whole pursuing or following after thoughts about? I kind of think a lot of it has to do with our brains predicting and trying to keep us safe. Like there's an insecurity. What if I don't? What will they think? What should I do next? Am I getting it right? Does that sound familiar? Now, that insecurity is kind of one aspect of it, but there's also a feeling like you might wonder, where is all this stuff coming from? It kind of feels like it's coming from, does it feel like it's coming from outside? From, no, some people are shaking their heads, some are nodding. That's okay. So you kind of know if you don't think it's coming from outside, then you're not blaming other people and stuff for what's going on in your own mind. So that's a plus. But nevertheless, if the stuff is happening, like if there's insecurity or you're following the thoughts and getting involved in a story, that means we're kind of involved, we're following after, we're adding to things. So if we drop that now and then have a look, or just let things be, we rest in ease again. No need for analysis. Just let it be. You can still hear, see, feel. You're present with whatever is coming into mind. And it's okay. I have a feeling that my preparation for this evening was aimed at um, people who are not so familiar with the practice, you know, because I was going to ask um, to what extent does our experience seem to involve, other people's ideas, culture, what we're supposed to do. But I think my feeling is that you all have a connection with the possibility that those beliefs are in your own mind. Is that so? Not imposed from somewhere else, but in your own mind. I had a very strong encounter with what we can call reference points when and how that whole process of others thinking about them, what will they think, and so on, happens in my mind, or used to happen in my mind. When we were in Portugal and Martin was away somewhere else for a few hours at a time each day, and I was on my own. So I was able to go for coffee, go to the shops, lots of shopping, lots of clothes were bought, and just be my own person. Do you know what I mean? Without referring, without, sure, I hoped he would like some of the stuff I got. I wasn't too worried about most of it. But it's like, I felt before this that I always had a reference point, something that I was checking with, rather than just being in my own mind, being present. I would be referring to something else or someone else. So I think I'm right in figuring out and seeing that you don't get involved so much in reference points. Irene is laughing. Yeah. You've made that distinction in your own minds. So you're not so drawn to what's going on outside or what you think other people will think. So if we look instead more at what happens, the thoughts that actually pop into your mind. You have thoughts coming into your mind, don't you? Yeah. Yeah, I'm just checking with you. Now, are the thoughts the problem? Think about that for a while. You've all gone very quiet. Well, you're muted anyway, but the thoughts don't seem to be the problem. And I think that's what Minger is pointing to. Because at the start of chapter 5, he says, once we move from the belief that things are unchanging to the experience that everything is transitory, the tension between our expectations and reality as it is begins to dissolve. I think what's happening for you through the practice and through how you are with the teachings and how you try them out, I think what I really get a feeling that you have experienced the transitory nature, that thoughts are insubstantial.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please,
Yeah.
Bridget.
I really get what you're saying, and I suppose what I would say is that sometimes I'm not involved, or but not all the time. I
Mm.
still fall back into my old ways, as it were. And the other thing is that, just as an example, there's something going on at the moment. That is quite good, actually. I'm reconnecting with somebody after 38 years, and we're going to talk on the phone, later on. um, and I've gone up into my head about this, about what he's going to say, what I'm going to say, and well, what should I tell him, all the stories going on up in my head.
Yeah,
And and like, I'm not getting involved in it, but it's still there. It's still going on. It's like I'm looking at it. I'm observing all this nattering that's going on, but I'm not. I'm trying really hard not to get involved in it, but it's still affecting me. It's still
yeah,
affecting my emotion. So I just,
This is very interesting. One trick I learned in France, and I can tell you the story of that later, was when you're on the phone in a difficult conversation. It was with a technical person, so my emotions weren't involved, but I was under pressure. I smiled on the phone, like no video or anything, and it just brought, I don't know, something eased in me, maybe because I saw the funny side of it as well. So that's one thing. And the other thing, those stories are our habit, really, I think, and it's brilliant that you see it, really brilliant. But one of the other things that I was going to say is that you don't need to fix the problem. If you can just be present, then there's like, and you're not trying to confront the other person or fix them or even fix yourself, then there's space. A conversation can happen. You find yourself listening, not being up in your head. That's the thing about being up in your head. You have what's going on in your head. So that kind of gets in the way of you hearing the other person. So if you really want to hear them and visualize them in front of you, if you like, visualize them and imagine that they want to open their hearts and say whatever it is on their minds to you. And from the outset, it's like the unfinished business thing that I talked about a few days ago. It's like you really want things to be well, you know. I think that. How does that sound, Bridget?
that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
wish, I hope I can remember. I'll
No,
just have to
but
keep
it's
remembering.
like it's uh, it's like other people have the same patterns, the same habits, and the difference for us is that we can see. It doesn't mean we won't fall into the traps or whatever, you know. And be kind to yourself if that kind of thing happens. You don't need to give out to yourself on top of everything else. Yeah. There was a phrase that came to mind from the practice and from the teachings. It refers to temporarily confused beings. We're all temporarily confused. It's not our nature. And it's very useful to have that in mind, that it's not the other person's nature. Have it not so much even in your mind, in your heart, that the other person's nature is just like yours. Their habits might be like yours, but their nature is the same as yours. And when you're present with others, what you give them is actually your good heart. You're allowing your good heart to being present. That's what this whole thing of really simplifying being present really brings. It allows your good heart to shine.